Okay, so in the same spirit as Nothing Gained But Glory, which gave us a siege, this gives us a running battle. We're seeing less and less of those set-piece battles as the designers are kind of trying to prove, hey, this system that Ben Hull put out actually works really well even in these different formats. And I really like that because there are few enough of those kind of battles of this era. It adds a little bit of interest to it. We'll see how it plays out and how much fun it is. Stadtlohn, Duke Christian, his Protestants are running for the Netherlands. They have nowhere else to hide, basically. They're getting chased out of Germany, and Mansfeld's going to be the next. Tilly's successes have pretty much broken the Protestant cause at this point. Now we'll see the beginning of the change of that. Oh well. The beginning of the attempts to intervene in the final battle of this particular installment. But what we've got is the Protestant army set up in Maine here. The cav behind it, actually, kind of strangely enough. An advanced a rear guard back here along these. It's an old military ditch, but it seems to have weird effects. Here's the costs for it, which are painful, but in terms of combat effects, it has very little except against light infantry. So it's not gonna stand as much against those heavy units, which seems kind of funny to me, except when you take into account, okay, look, those heavies can't really cross it without taking formation hits. So if you can defend behind one, that's good. Well, strangely enough, the heavy infantry is placed in front of it along with the artillery. That's not exactly where I'd want things. So there was some discussion here. Let me check the artillery. Should be in the main wing. They don't particularly, yeah, the guns are limbered. Cool. And units can enter in any formation. All right. The other final thing is this wagon, which is going to try to be getting off the map. And according to the notes, that may be pretty much the victory issue. If all those can get off the map and the Protestants deal a reasonable amount of damage to the Catholics pursuing, the Protestants could be wiped off the board and still win the game. We'll see. Let's look at the special rules for this one. Beyond the normal, there are bogs up here. That's impassable, giving us a nice anchor on that flank. And then we got the woods on this flank, which woods are not impassable, but they're unpleasant. Talked about the ditches. There's a raised road running along here. If you're on column, or if you're wagons or artillery or something, you're fine. But otherwise, we got to deal with a slightly increased cost for traveling across that. It's a little harder than the countryside, it seems. It also gives a bonus to being attacked on, to attacking onto it. Which isn't too pleasant. It's not high enough to affect line of sight, though. The wagon train special rules. It's got a movement allowance of 2 along the road and a 1 anywhere else. And they're 10 points each. 10 points if they go off the board, 10 points if the Catholics can capture them. So that's a nice little pile, but 60 points, there's a lot of army here too. Okay, Protestant infantry. A lot of the Protestant infantry with low morale has a -1 to firepower. Essentially, the Protestants had less musketeers attached to their units than is normal for these battles, as well as some other factors in terms of bad training, etc. Unwilling rear guard. Okay, so this is one of the more interesting rules. This rear guard back here isn't happy that it's been stuck there. It's an option of the Protestant player to have the two heavy infantry markers up here break at the beginning of the battle, and they will retreat anywhere from 2 to 5 hexes. And they'll route move again at the end of the turn. They're just treated as normal broken units. You can choose to do this, what? On the first activation of turn 1. And if some of them have already been affected or broken, he can't choose to break them again or whatever. I don't know why you'd want to do this, but for the historical, they say, hey, make them break. There's some discussion in the historical section saying Thurn was trying to pull back, to fall back. He's abandoning his guns by doing so. I'm not sure I'm thrilled with that, but they're definitely in kind of a risky position where they are. I'd want them behind the ditch, but they're going to be tough to rally back there, so I don't know. It doesn't... I'm going to play with the historical and push them back, but I'm not sure it's something you'd want to do normally. Protestants have a penalty on preemption, continuation, and order change die rolls. Catholics are going to come in 1 wing per turn for the first 3 turns. This is only a 10-turn game. They start off with an advanced wing, then cav, and then their main body. And Duke Christian's worth extra points if he gets killed. The impetus is definitely on the Catholics here. They're expected to get over 100 points to just draw this. The historical, they give it here. And well, I guess we're ready to start. Well, as is often the case, I forgot to put my little markers out for the orders. All the Protestants are in receive charge, the Catholics are in make ready each formation, but only one of them comes on the board at the beginning of the game. See how that all works out. Well, the Catholics come on the board. I left them in make ready. That may have been a mistake. I probably should have thrown them into charge right off, but they didn't get a continuation. Now we're going to see probably the effect of that semi-optional rule of pulling these guys back for the historical reasons. I want to recreate that, I don't know, just because whenever something says, hey, it's more historical if you do this. Yeah, let's do that. Well, that didn't go particularly well for either side. I opened things up with artillery fire, and yeah, got myself a formation hit and a morale check. The morale check's easy for this unit to pass with its 8 morale. However, Tilly got wiped off the board from that. Probably shouldn't have had him stacked with the units so early. I wanted him on the board, but wow. And then the entire line, since I'm in received charge, I took the initial routes and figured I could pull them back here and maybe reform facing this way, be able to hit the heavies as they come across. But then I decided, you know, those lights ought to check morale too, just to see if I can improve them. Well, every damned one of them routed. Let me get this guy out of there. 1, 2, 3. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. What's that? 4, 5, 6. That's not perfect, but yeah, that whole advanced guard just collapsed on me basically, and then I didn't get a continuation. Interesting. And now, although I was withdrawing, I've got to send my infantry forward a little bit, try to help cover the wagons. They managed to get into make ready so they can move 2 hexes instead of 1. And also to give them a greater chance of continuations, which they didn't get. Remember, there's a penalty on the Protestants for this. Started swinging the cav around this way. I want to get it somewhere. There's a little bit more open ground up here. It can help screen things. Get that big infantry mass as close to this line as I can, because that's going to provide some disruption to the heavy infantry as it comes across. Do what I can, and maybe this stuff will be in better shape. It's got to run now, so I haven't taken care of that yet. And, well, let's make a roll to see if Tilly comes back, or if I just got him killed. Yeah, he's out of the battle. So we get a replacement for him. I don't know who that is. But that's a serious quick point loss there for no good reason. Who's our... Do we have a senior wing? I don't remember where this stuff is carried. Anhalt. Anhalt is my advanced guard leader. So he takes over as the new commander, and we have, I think, a new center wing leader. And let's put him on a different unit so I can't get them both on one shot. Yeah, that was kind of painful. Well, starting turn 2, kind of a vague sort of mix-up, probably by me and the roles. But there were only 2 make-readies on the field, well, 3 on the field. 1 for the Catholics and 2 for the Protestants, but I don't know whether or not that is or not. That's kind of one of those, I played it as though it wasn't. Now that I'm thinking about it and realized, hey, I've got another unit coming on this turn, I begin to think, well, that really should be applied as a make-ready on the field at this point, because it really kind of is. It's okay. I'll keep going with what I had. The wagons started moving off. We advanced with the Catholic Advance Guard, but they had to go into charge in order to take this gun out. Otherwise, this thing was just going to kill them. The light infantry slid around the side, was able to capture them with no problem. The rest moved forward, but that meant the rest continued moving forward over the trench. This ended up formation broken. We did a charge against the Cav here. That broke, and I sent the commander over there. And I kind of left these guys out of command. So now they can't actually do the firing that they were set up to do, and I've got to keep stretching out some light infantry to get them into command so that they can shoot up these other musketeers. That's really the only stuff that's in their way. This guy didn't get a successful interception. Neither did this guy. But that's it for the Catholic advance. Except now we're going to get their Cav wing into play. Try to bring that around this way, I think, to see if I can destroy all those routed units before they have a chance to rally, maybe. And while we finish up turn 2 here, going to turn 3, we've seen the Cav wing push in as well. And let's see, I got a little confused with triggering the wrong thing. Thought this unit was in make ready and not receive charge. It is now. So I've switched to using these boxes. They're going to be more of a pain for me. I like having things, you know, kind of on the board. I found that more useful in general. But for this scenario, the way things are interpenetrating, the amount of different, the fact that the commands are kind of placed not across a line facing each other, but more in columnar form, with one coming after the other, at least initially, it's making it hard for me to remember placement just by having the counters near them. Got to get my artillery off. They were able to, these guys must have been there. I think they were able to plink at this. I'm not even sure. It looks like they probably were. I don't have a long enough straight edge there. They didn't do anything though, so it's not really a big deal. Next turn we see the main Catholic force come into play. We've got the Protestant Cav coming around to try to take place. Trying to reform these suckers, but well, yeah, they're running. They don't have to. Actually, he's probably down here. I think he would run that way. Just, you know, that whole advance guard's falling apart at this point. I'm getting some reform up there, but it's going to be tough to stop him. All right, we'll load this one up. It's long enough, and I don't think this battle is going to take too long, but we'll see.